A city lawmaker is on the hot seat after her treasurer resigns amid questions from Fox 45 News. The slew of campaign violations and the answers we're demanding on your behalf. New plans in the works to fight juvenile crime statewide.
We want to have real, meaningful solutions that will make our community safer.
How top prosecutors are going after gangs they say are responsible. As residents continue to push back on new bike lanes, we now know how much the city is spending on them. Fox 45 News is following your taxpayer dollars.
We've been ghosted by government.
Baltimore's on pace for fewer than 300 homicides this year. How a partnership between the state and the feds are getting more violent offenders off the streets.
We're all on the same page.
Tracking our weekend weather maker, I'm timing out the impact hour by hour.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
I was surprised by the number of violations.
Well, Fox 45 News is demanding answers about Delegate Stephanie Smith's campaign finance violations. Now in the middle of our questioning, the delegate's treasurer is stepping down. Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson. Fox 45 News is learning that resignation happened exactly 1 week after we started asking questions. Keith Daniels has details in a story you're seeing first on Fox.
Since first running to represent Northeast Baltimore in the General Assembly, State Delegate Stephanie Smith has racked up a total of 12 campaign finance violations for late filings.
I was surprised at the number of times in the last several years in which the campaign has been late in filing the required disclosure forms and has been fined for it.
According to campaign finance records viewed by Fox 45 News last week, Smith's campaign had 8 late filing violations, leading to more than $7,800 in fines. 5 of those violations were referred to the office of the state prosecutor for further enforcement.
The idea is that it's supposed to, when it works well and when it works as designed, it's supposed to increase voter confidence in the integrity of their public officials.
Fox 45 News began emailing Delegate Smith's campaign demanding answers since last Friday. Questions including, why has the campaign routinely failed to file its reports in a timely manner? What actions will Delegate Smith and the campaign take to follow Maryland campaign law? The campaign has been referred to the Maryland Office of the Special Prosecutor for further review. Does the campaign believe criminal charges may be imposed? Thursday night, Smith's campaign treasurer told Fox 45 News Delegate Smith's campaign account is currently in compliance with the Maryland State Board of Elections. Then, just 24 hours later, that same campaign treasurer told us she resigned as the treasurer for Delegate Smith.
It is surprising since Delegate Smith is a lawyer, is a member of the bar, and therefore presumably is capable of dealing with pretty complex things in a competent way, to allow the campaign to at least have the appearance of such disarray in terms of filing these forms. They're complicated, but you know, it isn't rocket science.
Well, Fox 45 News sent a number of follow-up questions to Delegate Smith asking, why did your campaign treasurer resign from his position? Why does your political campaign seem to be riddled by controversy and mismanagement? What is your message to voters during this turbulent period for your campaign? Are you fully confident in your campaign's financial history and accuracy of its reports? So far, we haven't heard back. Well, campaign finance reports for all elected leaders are due next month. Fox 45 News will keep a close eye on Delegate Smith's reports, as well as all the reports from your elected leaders. That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think lawmakers should be completely transparent when it comes to their campaign finance reports? So far, 100% of those who voted say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
We are fighting for our families. You know, we're fighting for ourselves, of course, the larger community as well. But we understand the issues facing people in our community, and we want to have real, meaningful solutions that will make our community safer.
Two of Maryland's top prosecutors are hoping to make additions to a current state statute they believe will lead to fewer carjackings. It comes as Fox 45 News continues to hear residents' concerns surrounding the juvenile crime crisis. We have team coverage starting with Fox 45's Vincent Hill. He has more on what the Baltimore City and Prince George's County state's attorneys are proposing in Annapolis. Vincent?
Yeah, Kai, Ivan Bates and Aisha Braveboy hope to change the organized crime law, and hopefully they say that will lead to less victims.
A united front by the state's attorney of Baltimore City.
What could we do united to, hopefully fix the problems that we're suffering together?
In Prince George's County.
We want to have real, meaningful solutions that will make our community safer.
Ivan Bates and Aisha Braveboy proposing several bills for the next legislative session, including.
We want to expand the organized crime statute so that the statute really reflects what we're seeing on the streets.
To go after carjackers. Currently, under Maryland statute, a person is guilty if they knowingly direct a juvenile to commit a crime for what is considered an organized criminal organization. Currently, carjacking is not considered in that definition.
What we're really seeing are crews or more loosely associated or affiliated individuals becoming organized to commit certain types of offenses, in particular carjackings.
The proposed bill would look to make carjacking and those who benefit from it organized.
A lot of what we're seeing now are more sophisticated operations involving multiple levels of people who are benefiting from this type of crime.
This year in Prince George's County, 488 carjackings, up 77% from this time last year. In Baltimore City,
carjacking and auto theft arrest of juveniles. Year to date, 234.
522 carjackings. Of the 234 juveniles arrested, 66 of them repeat offenders, sometimes using violence. Bates and Braveboy say getting the proposal passed would bring down those numbers.
I think one of the things you see criminal organizations able to use juveniles and to say, hey, nothing's going to happen to you in the first place, so we're going to direct you to do that type of behavior. We want to make sure that child is treated as a child and protected from some of the individuals that will prey on them because of the laws.
And they plan to have this bill and others proposed on the floor of Annapolis next month when that new session begins on juvenile crime. For now, we're live in the control room. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. Bates and Braveboy are proposing a number of changes to the way the state handles juvenile crime. They want to increase the probation for kids who have a gun and kids who steal cars. They also want DJS to immediately notify courts when a young person on home monitoring violates that agreement. Ivan Bates wants to change the Child Interrogation Protection Act. That law requires an attorney to approve law enforcement questioning a juvenile, even if a parent gives the okay. Bates wants to change that law, requiring an attorney to be present during the questioning. Now, the prosecutors acknowledge there likely will not be any changes to the Juvenile Justice Reform Act, which prevents kids 13 and younger from facing most serious charges. Not this session anyway. Despite that, they're confident other changes will be successful.
Do you think there'll be support and appetite to make these changes in the General Assembly?
I think so. I think that a lot of the topics that we're hitting on are near and dear to many of our legislators, and they should be, because they're near and dear to our constituents.
At the end of the day, we serve the people. And this isn't just what we want. This is what the people have told us they want.
Bates and Braveboy are two of more than a dozen top prosecutors across the state calling for changes to the juvenile justice system. They say current laws leave their hands tied and allow young people to act without fear of consequences.
So what we're realizing when we talk to young people is that young people, the juveniles, know there's nothing that we can do.
We can't charge them. I mean, essentially, if they are found to have committed the crime, the police just have to drive them home. I mean, that's really all we can do.
We can only hope that they'll not listen to just folks like me or my 23 colleagues across the state or the chief prosecutors in their counties, but hopefully they'll listen to their citizens, because their citizens are saying the exact same thing. Enough's enough.
On Monday, Senate President Bill Ferguson will have a town hall to address juvenile crime and public safety in Baltimore. DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi will be a part of it. Schiraldi said he doesn't believe anyone under 25 should be exposed to the adult criminal system. While the governor has called the DJS secretary a reformer, others say his views make Maryland less safe.
You're basically saying up until the age of 25, which is what he wants to do, you get a free ride.
Unfortunately, legislators, lawmakers, have decided that it's better to support the lawbreakers rather than those who are enforcing the law.
Fox 45 News will be at Monday's town hall to hold elected leaders accountable for juvenile crime. We'll keep you updated on air and online.
We determined whether this was an adult or a minor.
The call said he was 16.
He's 16.
Those words heard over police radios in the city's northern district yesterday as a teen suffers a gunshot wound. Baltimore police say that 16-year-old suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Well, that incident is fueling more concern about the juvenile crime crisis. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has more on that brazen midday shooting that's left a community on edge.
After 2 p.m. Thursday afternoon.
The event has been discharged fire on West 1st Street in South Road from Unison Road.
Broad daylight in North Baltimore's Medfield neighborhood. This was the scene after police say a 16-year-old boy was hit by gunfire, a stone's throw from both TV Hill and the busy Green Spring Tower Square shopping center along 41st Street.
We determined whether this was an adult or a minor.
The call said he was 16.
He's 16.
Northern District Radio Communications revealing the back and forth between dispatch and officers on scene.
We got 2 gunshot wounds. One to his looks like left hand, and one to his left back area.
As police put up crime scene tape and investigators searched for evidence, neighbors watched from their porches.
It's extremely disturbing. It's not a shock to me. I mean, more recently in this neighborhood, maybe more shocking because the neighborhood has changed a lot in the last 3 decades.
But just 6 weeks ago, about a block away, in the same Medfield neighborhood.
They were young, really young kids. I could tell they were young. In reverse, back and shooting.
This man told Fox 45 News he witnessed brazen gunfire and a car chase in the middle of a weekday.
And he was just like this, pow, pow, pow.
Though police said the reports of gunfire were unfounded, this man blamed kids as neighbors responded cleaning up the aftermath.
It's crazy. These juveniles are out of control. Something's got to be done.
This Medfield man also among the chorus of people who are saying they don't feel safe in their own neighborhood.
It's scary. It's scary to even walk the streets at nighttime, go to the store. It's scary. It really is. People getting robbed, carjacked. Enough's enough. So it's got to be a change.
But back to yesterday's shooting here in Medfield, neighbors told Fox 45 News it happened as students were seen walking home. But today, no answer when we asked Baltimore City Schools if that 16-year-old is a student at the nearby Academy for College and Career Exploration. Meantime, neighbors quick to assume Thursday's gunfire, another case of teen-on-teen violence.
I'm imagining it's probably another teenager that shot him with some kind of beef.
But also questioning why.
I think that's sad. You know, I mean, what reason is there to shoot a 16-year-old boy?
Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Well, if you feel your juvenile crime concerns aren't being heard, you can contact lawmakers. House Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson are 2 of the most powerful voices in Annapolis. Their phone numbers and email addresses are right here on your screen. Fox 45 News is hosting a town hall on public safety next week, and we invite you to join us. City Councilman Eric Costello and mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon will be on our panel. It takes place Wednesday, December 20th at 7 p.m. at Leadenhall Baptist Church.
We are getting ready for our next weather maker, and that's going to bring the nice and dry pattern that we've been enjoying to an end. We will be tracking a low pressure system off the coast of Florida. That's going to move northeast and lead to rain, heavy rain across many parts of the East Coast, including our area. All of this rain, though, is going to be beneficial since much of the state is abnormally dry, some areas even in a moderate drought. Coming up, I'll have a closer look at the timing of the rain and how much we could see in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, the U.S. Attorney from Maryland and the acting marshal are touting their crime-fighting strategies as the number of murders in the city drops. Why they say their partnership is a big part of that success. It's been a roller coaster for a few months for Maryland families investing in the state's college savings plan. Well, now a devastating twist to this whole story. Why families who were supposed to be paid back after their funds were frozen might not get their money after all. And residents in Baltimore and beyond are fed up with bike lanes in the region that they say are clogging traffic and making the streets less safe. Well, Fox 45 News looks into how much those lanes are costing taxpayers, and the numbers have some people furious. Fox 45 News is opening the books on just how much bike lanes are costing taxpayers. Many residents are furious over bike lanes, complaining that they're clogging up traffic and making streets less safe. Jeff Abel joins us with a live look at those numbers. Jeff.
Well, you may not see many bikers, but many communities tonight are seeing sticker shock. In fact, we've obtained city documents showing just how much these bike lanes are costing taxpayers. And the result is it's 3 times more than even city planners had estimated. On the newly designed Gwynns Falls Parkway, where traffic is now backed up for blocks.
Who's managing the money?
Residents who fought to keep 2 lanes of traffic here instead of 1 are now fighting mad.
And who's making certain that for every dollar spent, there is a benefit that is tangible to the taxpayer?
Throughout the city, traffic lanes are being eliminated to accommodate bike lanes. But in places like Harford Road, no one is biking.
How many bikes have you seen? I haven't seen a bike around here since I've been around here.
Crews are now redesigning 23 miles of city roadways, ensuring bikers have a lane of their own. Initially, the city projected it would cost up to $6 million, but it turns out the real cost is more than 3 times that much. In documents obtained by FOX45, the amount of city, state, and federal tax dollars spent on Baltimore's bike lanes so far amounts to $21.1 million. That's enough money to pay for 60 new trash trucks or 5,300 new streetlights.
But I don't think the average person has any idea how much money is being wasted on silly projects that have no impact, no positive impact on the great majority of the people.
And the city is preparing to ramp up its construction of more bike lanes. In another 4 years, the city projects the cost of bike lane construction will soar to $73.3 million.
The average person is going to have a hard time understanding why we aren't rebuilding the important housing stock for people who are already here, and instead we're using money to do bike lanes. It makes no sense at all.
We need the federal government to do what the federal government is supposed to do, and that is to lead and argue.
On Gwynns Falls, residents insist they were never consulted about this roadway design and were never aware that disruption could cost so much.
And the people who are being affected and victimized by these decisions, these arbitrary and capricious spending of dollars, seem to have no voice. We've been ghosted by government.
The city's goal is to complete some 77 miles of bike lanes in the next 4 years. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Well, election season is around the corner, and besides the Baltimore City mayoral election, the race to replace U.S. Senator Ben Cardin is also one to watch. During our 4 p.m. newscast today, we spoke with Congressman David Trone, who's running in the Democratic primary. He shared his ideas on how to handle the crime crisis that we're seeing in Maryland and the steps he would like Congress to take.
We've got to all keep talking about the crime issues that plague our country. And one of the first things we got to work on is those folks that are coming back out of being incarcerated. I've worked hard on this in Congress, and we've got a number of bills that have moved over the finish line, like Pell Grants, allowing our returning citizens that were incarcerated to get an education. If we get them an education and we get them a job, we have success. And that's how we're going to have a safer community, because when folks come out of prison with a job, recidivism's 8%. If they don't have a job, it's 75%, and we're less safe. So we've got to get jobs to move forward.
Well, a recent poll from Hickman Analysis found David Trone to be leading the primary stage among Democratic voters. According to that poll, 55% of voters have a favorable opinion of Trone, while 49% have a favorable opinion of Trone's opponent, Angela Alsobrooks from Prince George's County. Coming up, for the first time in years, Baltimore City could see fewer than 300 people killed. The crime-fighting partnership that some say is behind that decline.
As the Israel-Hamas war rages on, fears of increased terror attacks here in the United States increasing. I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington with a look at the threats coming up.
We had a nice and warm day for this time of year, and tomorrow that trend is going to continue as temperatures rise to the upper 50s, keeping us above average. We stay in the 50s on Sunday and Monday, but we also have the chance for rain on both of those days. I'll let you know the timing of the rain and how it could impact your plans in my Weather Authority forecast.
And this is a live look at the Inner Harbor as we go to break. Nice night tonight, but the weather is going to change. We'll be right back. As the Israel-Hamas war continues, there's increasing anxiety surrounding possible terrorist attacks in the United States. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
A terror plot to attack Jews and Jewish institutions in Europe busted this week by German, Dutch, and Danish authorities.
They're accused of being members of Hamas, which is, of course, a banned terrorist organization here. 4 of the 7 arrested are being tied to the terror group days after Hamas reportedly called for violence against American and British interests.
I see blinking lights everywhere I turn.
As the Israel-Hamas war rages, fears of possible terror attacks growing, prompting U.S. intelligence officials to warn Americans about attacks here.
Post-October 7th, you've seen a veritable rogues gallery of foreign terrorist organizations calling for attacks against us.
In its warning to Americans this week, the U.S. intelligence community points out there has been a spike in reporting on potential hate crimes or other criminal violations since 7 October, the date of the Hamas terror attack on Israel. This comes as data shows the terrorism watch list doubled over the past 6 years, closing out 2023 with about 2 million individuals on it. While thousands of Americans are on the list, officials note the vast majority are not U.S. citizens or legal residents. In the past year alone, the number of people on the watch list trying to enter the U.S. illegally jumped 42%. Even though it's a minuscule percentage of border crossers, it's still raising security concerns at the southern border.
We're getting people from Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, India, China. We're getting people from China. We're getting people in this country that we don't know. We're probably going to have some instances of terrorism in this country.
In this heightened environment, there's been a significant uptick of hate crimes against Jews and Muslims in the U.S. Even so, intelligence officials say they're not tracking any specific terror threats against the United States at the current moment. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Yesterday, we asked you, are you concerned about a terror attack on U.S. soil? More than 70 cities weighed in, including many of you. 91% of those who voted say yes. Still ahead, more problems facing Maryland's embattled college savings plan. Why some are saying the money wrongfully taken out of their accounts won't be paid back in full.
I'm Janae Bones in Washington with a look at a push for more transparency when it comes to foreign donations.
We're following three big stories at 10:30 tonight. Another blow for some parents who've invested in the Maryland 529 College Savings Plan. Why some account holders are being told to pay taxes in a program that's meant to be tax-free. Top colleges and universities on the hook for receiving billions of dollars from foreign countries. The controversial connection experts are shining a light on between China and education programs in America. And the U.S. Attorney for Maryland and acting U.S. Marshal share their crime-fighting strategies.
Our strategy has been focused. It's been aggressive. We're all on the same page.
And that's where we begin tonight. Right now, homicides and non-fatal shootings are down across the city. And for the first time in years, Baltimore may finish 2023 with fewer than 300 people murdered. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell sat down with the U.S. Attorney for Maryland, Eric Barron, and also acting U.S. Marshal Matt Silverman for an exclusive interview and has more on their crime-fighting strategies.
These federal leaders believe the reduction in homicides and shootings across Baltimore is in part due to the result of the collaborations between local, state, and federal partners. And in their case, the strategic and more aggressive approach to getting fugitives off the streets.
Murderers, shooting and carjacking suspects, drug traffickers. For years, the U.S. Marshals Service has been going after Baltimore's most violent criminals. This year, more so than ever.
Our operations have ramped up since the new U.S. Attorney came in.
Acting U.S. Marshal Matt Silverman is talking about Maryland's U.S. Attorney Eric Barron, who back in August 2022 announced new actions his office would take to address the violence in Baltimore. His approach also included requesting the U.S. Marshal Service conduct more raids and warrant sweeps.
Our strategy has been focused. It's been aggressive. We're all on the same page.
We have always done our operations the way that we do our operations, and we've always left it open to the U.S. Attorney to ask for assistance from the Marshal Service to do additional operations.
Those operations, Silverman believes, has contributed to Baltimore's historic reduction in homicides and shootings, the result of the work and partnerships between federal, state, and local agencies.
It's one of the many reasons right now that we are coming up on historic lows for the last many years within Baltimore City.
But of course, challenges remain and hurdles still exist. The federal agency is seeing more cases where the fugitive wanted is a juvenile.
Most recently, we're seeing an extraordinary uptick in violent crime involving juveniles.
Silverman sees it as Baltimore's biggest challenge right now when it comes to the city's crime fight.
Crime-wise, right now in Baltimore City, I would have to say the biggest issue that we're facing is going to be juvenile crimes. Juveniles across this state and across other states, they have that sense of freedom that if they get arrested, nothing's going to happen.
A problem echoed by local police, prosecutors, and the people of Baltimore, calling on lawmakers for change.
The hurdle Silverman discussed with me centers on staffing. Ideally, he says he'd like to add 10 deputy marshals. Recruitment and retention, as we've heard from other law enforcement agencies, a big problem. In North Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Well, it's a case of deja vu for families in Maryland investing in the state's prepaid college savings plan. First, their money was frozen. Then it was taken out of their accounts, but following the takeover of the state treasurer's office, those funds were supposed to be paid back in full. However, as Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor reports, that may no longer be the case for some families.
Yeah, just when they think that they are on the other side of this financial nightmare, there is yet another setback for these struggling families. Now, the state is still agreeing to pay these parents back, but now in some cases, taxes on what was supposed to be a tax-free investment could undermine their settlements. Following desperate pleas to lawmakers.
Only you can fix it.
Countless unanswered questions from agency executives. Why won't you answer our questions? You're just ignoring us. You don't think that these families have a right to know what's going on with their money?
Patty is in there and she's got a statement for you.
So you're not taking questions again?
Correct.
And why aren't you taking questions?
Patty over there has a statement.
The decision to transfer oversight of the state's embattled college savings plan to the state treasurer's office.
I have full confidence in my team that they will be able to do the job.
Was the lifeline Maryland 529 families drowning in debt had been waiting more than a year for.
2 or 3 days ago, I got an email with a settlement offer from Maryland 529.
The state granting Ken Sachs nearly $10,000 in interest earnings that the agency had slashed from his account without warning.
It was pretty much the number I was expecting.
Until further review of the fine print revealing the unexpected. Tax considerations on his tax-free investment.
The crux of the plan was that it was a tax-free plan. I mean, if that's their intent, that would be pretty terrible.
Not only would it shortchange Sachs's settlement,
$3,000 pretty much right off the top.
Taxing these, in many cases, large payouts will push people into another tax bracket, causing a ripple effect of further financial consequences.
Your income goes up by the amount of the earnings. So there's certain phase outs, child tax credits, and then also if you're applying for financial aid, for FAFSA forms, that now goes in as interest. And it's going to be a lump sum payment.
Potentially preventing families from securing financial aid or interest-free loans.
It would have significant repercussions.
Fox 45 sending questions to the Treasurer's office today, asking how many accounts are affected. Is it fair to tax money Maryland families invested in a tax-free plan? And how will you address this issue? The Treasurer's office writing in part, quote, this issue impacts approximately 150 claimants. While the legislation specified that settlements are exempt from state and local taxes, they will be subject to federal taxes.
It would seem to be very easy for them to do the paperwork and make it non-taxable.
What's not easy?
My personal situation, she's in a special needs school.
Making sure Sachs's daughter is receiving the services and resources she needs to be successful.
The tuition burden is quite high. And to have to pay taxes on money, it would just be unfathomable.
Sachs says that the next step is to see if lawmakers will once again step in, with the Treasurer's office seemingly offering no new solutions. In the control room, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Also developing, the Maryland Public Service Commission has given BGE the green light to raise your rates every year for the next 3 years. So let's break down the costs. Over the next 3 years, rates will be heating up to a tune of $408 million. That's still less than the $603 million that BGE wanted. Also, as for what that means for you, well, the PSC claims in 2024, electric customers can expect to see their bills go up a little more than $4 a month, while gas customers will see a $10 a month increase. Those increases do go down slightly the next 2 years. In total, if you get both gas and electric from BGE, which many people do, by 2026, you'll be paying about $22 more a month.
We've talked about moving to Delaware, and a lot of people that I know, family members, have considered moving from Baltimore because the taxes just keep going up and up. It seems like on everything.
We're retired, and so it's tough, and everybody wants more money all the time. And, it's just not fair. You can only get so much blood out of a turnip. It's just, sometimes there just isn't any more.
And those increases are set to take effect at the start of next month. Foreign governments send billions of dollars to American colleges and universities. And now those institutions are facing growing scrutiny over how those funds are used and China's influence on American higher education. National correspondent Janae Bowens explains.
Our nation's top colleges and universities on the hook for receiving billions of dollars from foreign countries.
Unfortunately, many schools fail to report these foreign gifts and funding, leaving foreign actors with a stranglehold on U.S. academic institutions.
House Republicans say as much as $13 billion in foreign funds to universities from adversarial countries could have been unreported.
We permit hostile foreign actors like Qatar, Iran, and Communist China to buy influence on our college campuses.
Full Measure's Cheryl Atkinson recently reported Texas A&M has accepted more than $1 billion from Qatar for projects, including sensitive nuclear research. Texas A&M also has a campus there.
We know that Hamas, their leadership lives in Qatar and is supported by the Qatari regime. Are they sharing some of this military secrets or research with them.
The House passed a bill with bipartisan support just a few days ago that lowers the minimum foreign gift reporting threshold for colleges and universities. More than a dozen higher education groups sent a letter to House leadership opposing the bill, calling it problematic, saying it will curtail international research and collaboration.
Confucius Institutes are also under scrutiny. Now, those are Chinese language and cultural programs at American universities and colleges that are partially funded by the Chinese government.
Although many schools dropped the Confucius Institute name, experts say China is still sending millions of dollars to colleges to fund educational programs.
They generally include staff brought over from China, and unfortunately, those staff tend to